Dawson Rider Review.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with a review of the 5-inch Power Rangers Turbo figures from Power Rangers Turbo. If people want to correct me and say, oh, it's such actual scale, but I'm just calling it the 5-inch figures to generalize. So anyway, these are part of my retro review, so as I always say at the beginning of these, I am probably missing pieces. I know there are definitely some weapons I don't have people holding, but I do have them somewhere, but they're just not in this review. But it really doesn't affect my overall review of it. Anyway, let's take a look at these. The last figures we took a look at were the Zeo figures, which are very strange, and these are also very strange. I don't think quite as strange as the Zeo figures. I feel like these bridge the gap between Space starting to get normal and Zeo's weird. But so let's start here. We've got the Red Turbo Ranger, which he's sort of got this sort of poofy, almost muscular build to him. It's a very strange proportion. They're all very strangely proportioned. It looks more normal on the guys, but I still feel it looks a little bit better than the Zeo Ranger figures. These are also gimmick-based figures. There are little key slots in the back, which I'm really honestly upset that I don't have any to show you. I mean, I have them, I just have no idea where they are. They're the little solid colored keys that come with every Ranger, and you just press it in the back and then you turn it, and that's how you get the gimmick. However, you can fake it just by pressing it like that, so I'll be able to show it. But I'm just disappointed I don't have it to show you because, you know, it was kind of a neat thing, you know. But the head sculpt, paint-wise, it looks pretty decent, I have to say. Proportion-wise, not the best, but it does look a little bit better. I'm not sure if you can tell on camera. I don't know why it's not showing up as well, but the color differences between his chest here and his arms are quite apparent. Like, this is quite a bit darker than his arms, which is really strange looking. The turbo suits are pretty basic, and it's pretty hard to mess up a Power Ranger suit, so, but, yeah, overall you can see it's kind of this really weirdly proportioned figure there. You got some weird stuff going on. Articulation-wise, you do have very similar leg joints to the Zeo figures, which instead of going over every one, they pretty much just all have that, or almost all of them at least. So they just kind of got this hinge joint. It does give you a pretty decent range of movement here. I feel really weird just sitting here going like this to him. And you've got like the single knee joint there, but that's about it. And you can swivel, but not really a terrible amount of movement you can do. And his arms can move around a little bit, but it's mainly, on most of them actually, is a feature of its transformation, and you can't move its head. They do come with weapons, like I said, with all of them I don't have them. With his I do have his sword here, which was actually color painted. You can see that the part here is color painted and the blade is color painted, so the handle and such is color painted, which is nice. It's not like amazing, but these weapons weren't terribly detailed in the first place. But anyway, by twisting this back and forth here, you get his gimmick, which is slashing. So depending which way you turn it, left or right, he will move the opposite arm. So he's like, hey, Hail Hydra, Hail Hydra. So yeah, that's a thing. It's essentially like a slashing effect. So it depends on which way you turn it, but ideally you would want the key. Let's see, who do we want next? Let's do Green. Green has this giant weapon here. He's just like, yep, going off to the work, honey. The work? I don't know. But it attaches here on the side. So if you take it out, he just has this giant notch on the side of him. It's really strange looking. His proportions, other than that, are a little larger than everyone else's, just because of, well, actually pink and yellow are giving him a run for his money, but he's also very poofy, very oddly proportioned. As you can see, the helmet's a little bit strange looking. But a very oddly proportioned figure, just like before. And he's got it even worse with that notch on the side of him there, which just kind of makes it strange for him. As you can see here, he actually does have it, which I usually forget. But he does have his little blaster weapon. In fact, this one, no, this is right, because he does have, these figures have the little pegs here for their hands. Because sometimes I swapped them out for the other figures. Something I forgot to mention, which I'll probably mention later, is a good recommendation for more articulated figures from this and Zeo are the little ones that came with bikes. They're a lot smaller and aren't the most accurate, you know, proportion and look-wise, but they're a lot more well articulated and they're just a little bit better. But so obviously, as you saw, he has the weapon here, which is also pretty decently painted. You can see the fresh dust there because I can't get under his arm. But it's just primarily black and white, but you do have little details there, so it looks pretty decent. So just let's plug it back in, dust and all. And it just kind of rests back on top of there. You can't move this arm out, it's also, you know, for the feature. You can't move his head. But here, let's go with his key. So to do that, you can move this out, and it's supposed to, if you can see here, move the cannon. So let me try this again, hold on. For whatever reason, it like hardly works anymore. And you can barely see it. But he's supposed to be able to move his arm out, and then the cannon's supposed to fire here, and it like pops out a little bit. Mine is like broken, and I think I got it to sort of work once. But that's the idea there. It was a neat idea, especially trying to make use of his larger weapon. That's what she said. But it just kind of looks odd, and if you don't want the weapon on there, you have this really odd thing sticking off of him, which is kind of annoying. Alright, Zeo Rangers 2 Yellow, continuing with the male-female figures. As you can see, very poofy. If you didn't watch the show, you would probably think Yellow was just a male, because it's got the same proportions, there's nothing to distinguish it. Its head sculpt is... like, the paint on these is pretty decent, and the helmets look okay, but they're not really very accurate to the way they actually look on the show. I mean, like I said, the designs are there, but you know what I'm talking about. Like the way the helmets and everything is shaped is just strange. She's got her weapons here, which I was never really clear what they are. What are they? Like, clear! I don't know. But she features the same leg articulation, the same falling out of her hands things. You can move her arms all around, you know, positions and stuff, part of the transformation, part of the gimmick. I always say part of the transformation because it's like a default. Damn it, hold your defibrillators. There we go. She does not want to save this guy's life with these defibrillators. God, do I not miss the days of these little pegs. Okay, so when you have the key in there, her gimmick is defibrillating. Yay! Look, lunchboxes. I don't know. Very strange. You can also, yeah. There you go. I was thinking you could turn it the other way, but not really. But yeah, she just moves her arms around. Like I said, you can sort of move them around a little bit because of the way they work, and you can probably maneuver them into different positions so that she maybe has a different swatting effect, but that's really about it. Now we have actually the only one to not have her weapon, Pink, another male Pink Ranger figure. Like I said, if you weren't watching this or were familiar with the show, you would most definitely think that Pink was just a male. Because look at that, like there's no distinguishing features. It's got the same body style, just kind of buff looking. Yet again, the helmet is kind of oddly proportioned. Still very odd figures. Got the same leg articulation. Her gimmick is her arms twisting. I kind of like Zeo 5. And her arm actually is coming off, as you can see. I can never really get that to stay on that well. But she does have her bow weapon. I just don't have it. It's somewhere in storage. But her arm does spin. That is her gimmick right there. And her head cannot move. But you can see. So if you ever wanted a male Pink Ranger, guys, just pick up the Pink, Zeo, and Turbo figures. And you got it right there. Alright, and now we've got everyone's favorite Blue Ranger, Justin, here. Honestly, the Blue Ranger's costume, for whatever reason, out of the Core 5 is my favorite. I'm not sure why. I mean, they're all the same, but I like his helmet design. And honestly, Justin wasn't that bad. But pretty much the same deal here. You have this sort of buffly structured figure. It's funny because the next figures after this are actually going to be buff, but these are just more of like poofy buff. Not like buffy. He can move his head a little bit there because of his transformation, so you got that. His head sculpt is pretty beat up, but his actually probably looks the most accurately proportioned out of all of them. And I'm not sure if the camera... I think the camera's actually picking it up a lot better than Red's, but the color between his chest and arms is actually very different as well. He's got the same leg articulation. As you can see, he's got his weapons as well, which are actually painted blue and silver, which is nice. His gimmick, which is actually really neat... man, these guys are giving me trouble. The way they move, he actually has a sort of opposing gimmick. So if you pull it this way, so like right, let's watch. It's kind of hard to do because I don't have the key, and I have to show it to you. But look, it'll not only raise up, but it will twist out. So he's like posing it to the side. So if you have his head posed, that actually looks really cool. He's like, don't. So yeah, and then you can do the other side too. But that one actually, it seems like it's possible for whatever reason. This one just wants to flap this way, but this one's like, don't. Ted Jones messed with the wrong melon farmers. But yeah, that's pretty neat. He's probably honestly my favorite of the bunch, just because of his helmet looking the best and his gimmick actually looking pretty neat. Now here, as he's been revealed to be naked, I don't remember if this guy came out with the first, like, waved bunch of figures, but we did get a Phantom Ranger figure. Mine is missing half of a chest. It is God knows where, somewhere in storage or in the house or something. I don't know. But we did get a Phantom Ranger figure. It's nothing spectacular, but it's neat that we got a figure because we made a bigger deal about this character than Japan did. And, you know, we made him a Ranger, and he's got the whole mystery surrounding him. So like I said, it's not the greatest figure ever, but it's pretty much like the only Phantom Ranger figure. So it looks pretty decent. The helmet's actually pretty decent looking, you know, it's pretty accurate to what he's like. You can see the chest there. He's supposed to have another one just like this on the other side. But the rest of him's pretty basic. You got like these robo parts down here. I don't know exactly what his role was in Car Ranger, but he was a bigger deal here. So he was an actual Ranger. Now his gimmick is he does not have a key gimmick. He just has this little giant thing sticking off on the back, and you press it up, and these will lift up, both of them if you have them, and you'll see this little thing spinning under here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like stationary right now. It looks like a little fan, and it spins. Not the most exciting thing. I'm not even sure why they did it, but it looks a lot better with the other side on. He can move his arms around here like this. You can't move his head. This moves around like this. He's got essentially the same leg articulation. So it's just kind of a neat little figure to have, especially if you have the complete thing. Hopefully one day I find the other chest piece. But I decided to throw him in the review just for the hell of it, because it's a pretty decent figure, and it's probably a lot. It is a lot less odd looking than the rest of the Turbo figures, missing chest piece notwithstanding. Anyway, that about wraps it up. You know, just like the Zeo figures, I only really recommend these figures as a whole as more of a niche collector's item. Like, if you're looking for a really great articulated representation, then these definitely are what you're looking for. They're very oddly, strangely proportioned figures. The Phantom Ranger I can recommend because it's pretty much all we have right now, so it's pretty neat. But like I said with the Zeo review, these are more of a niche sort of collectible if you're into collecting things from the history of the show, as opposed to a really well-articulated figure to play around with and pose. But like I said, I'm still glad I have them, except I never said that, but I'm still glad I have them because they're sort of fond memories, but they're definitely not the best figures. They're really odd figures and are more of a niche thing. Niche? Anyway, until next time, make sure you check out the Crazy Podcast at WritersRangersRambles.com, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, it's Dawson Ryder, signing out.